Good evening here on the Central Riverhawks YouTube channel. I'm Joel McCall. We're visiting now with Adam Lyons. He is the head coach for the Riverhawks boys soccer program. Hopefully he wasn't as distracted as I was with that Buffalo Bills Kansas City Chiefs game that just happened. That's kind of what got me out of sorts for tonight. First of all, Coach, thank you very much for joining me. Do really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks again for having me.
We have a lot to talk about. You know, you're undefeated for the season, just wrapped up the regular season, tying Toma 1-1. That just happened last week. I think the last time we talked it was right for the Holmen game, and that was a huge game. I ended up winning that one 2-0. So I talk about the last couple of weeks of the season, and especially that win over Holmen that essentially locked up the Mississippi Valley for you.
Yeah, that win against Holmen really put us in a good position for the following week, Tuesday, when we played Toma. We knew that a draw or a win would get us conference, depending on what happened in the Holmen-Onalaska game. So they played earlier that day, so the coaches knew at least what the result of that was. We tried to keep it away from the players as best we could. But yeah, that Holmen game was a huge game. One of the more pressure-packed games that non-playoff game that we've had for our program in a long time, and 0-0 at halftime, and the boys really put on a good performance in the second half, and really after the first 5 minutes or so of that second half really put it to Holmen.
Who scored your 2 goals that night?
Who did score? So Arlo Wilker got our first one. He and Finn Emlet are our 2 kind of center midfielders that we call kind of box to box guys. They run the whole field, and they do a lot of runs that go kind of past our attacking players when our attacking players come back and get the ball. And Devin Wilkerson brought a ball down off his chest, and Arlo made a run through. It's really hard for defenders to track those runners coming from deeper, further away from them, and got lost a little bit. And then the second goal was similar, but Reardon Staffaroni, who starts alongside Landon Larson and Devin. So he doesn't get all the accolades that those 2 do, but he's a very talented player, very scrappy player. Similar goal, made a run through the defense, took a really good first touch, and was able to just slot it home.
And I wasn't able to see the box score for the Toma game. How did that start? I mean, did you guys score first? What was that game like, back and forth?
That game was incredibly windy coming from south to north. So the from one goal to the other. So we had the wind in our faces the first half, and it really showed, and it's hard to clear the ball. It's hard, our goalkeeper, Mason, could probably punt the ball 35, 40 yards. It's hard to get out of and attack too much. So they got a goal in the first half. We were down 1-0 at halftime. But we knew if we could, keep it to a goal or so with that wind, we'd have a really good chance in the second half. There hasn't been a game we haven't scored in this year, so we were confident we'd get at least one back. And then, we had a lot of chances to get our second, but it just wasn't to be.
Yeah, if you've never been to a soccer game, I covered a few of them in Minnesota for a high school there. And when it gets windy and it's blowing in your face, those goalies cannot clear. And even if you clear to mid, even if you can somehow get it to the 50-yard line for playing on a football field, it's not actually clearing. You're hoping to go 40 to 30 and flip the field. And if you can't do that, I mean, you're essentially going to play defense for the entire first half or second half.
Yeah, and I mean, we got a few chances. We do a good job of keeping the ball on the grass and passing and moving. But just reading the ball, the flight of the ball in the air is different. Even like a little bit of spin on the ball with the wind does weird things to the ball. It's all a little bit weird. So the boys did a really good job the second half, taking advantage of the, frankly, what Toma took advantage of in the first half.
Well, and I know that we discussed some of the stats and whatnot from a few weeks ago, and we discussed things. I just wanted to go over a couple more with Landon Larson finishing with 13 goals. I mean, that is just insane. You're talking 14 games, 14 matches, however you want to describe soccer, and putting up essentially a goal a game. That's very impressive.
And the most impressive thing about Landon is he got 11 of those in the 10 conference games. So he's scoring goals in important games. A lot of guys can score a lot of goals when you beat, teams that you should beat 6-7-0. He doesn't rack up stats in those games. He's very happy to pass the ball, move the ball, let other people get their accolades in those. He shows up in big moments, just like Devin does. Yeah. Devin got the assists on all 3 goals between Toma and Holmen. So same thing. He had, I think, 14 assists now this year. So a lot of those to Landon, obviously.
Yeah, I think that's what I ended up having too. He led you in assists for the
Mhm.
season, did Devin Wilkerson. Then Reardon, as you mentioned, he had 5 goals on the
Yep.
season. Arlo helped you out, getting a big goal the other night, and then he had 4 goals for the season plus 4 assists. So
Yep.
really helping you out. It's very balanced. I think that's the key for you guys. I would say if I saw the box score, just thinking like, well, you can't really key on one guy. Yeah, Landon has a lot of goals, and he's probably going to get one on us, but if we stop him, there's like 3 or 4 that can really step up.
Yeah, and that makes it difficult to defend. I think, they can focus on Landon and Devin, try to take them out of the game, but then guys like Rio, guys like Arlo, guys like Finn are doing those late runs that are just so hard to track. And the work rate is so good that it becomes a matter of pick your poison. Sometimes 27 goals in conference in our 10 conference games this year, by far the most by any team. So we're a difficult team to defend against.
Well, and I wanted to talk about your defense again too, because Mason comes up with another shutout, against Holmen, and such a big moment, such a big match for you guys, and then just giving up the one against Toma. So he's playing well still. I mean, this is throughout the season. He's been playing well, obviously with W's, but then you go back and look at how many goals have been scored on him. It ain't a whole lot.
No, and really, bulk of those are the first 2-3 weeks of the season when we're trying to settle in and figure things out. Once we really got things organized and figured out, lots of 0-goal games, lots of shutouts, lots of 1-goal games. He made a save against Holmen in the second half when it was still 0-0, that if he doesn't make, the game's completely different. We go down a goal, and then they can defend a little bit more. We have to work even harder to score. And so, we always tell our goalkeepers, make one save you're not supposed to make, and then make all the ones you are, and then we win games. That's how it works.
Well, you come out for the postseason again. We're talking with Adam Lyons. He's the head coach for boys soccer here for Central Riverhawks. If you haven't seen the bracket yet, they are the number 3 seed, and they are in Division 2. Just so you're aware, because a lot of times I've been talking about volleyball. They're in Division 1.
Yep.
Soccer is a little bit different. They're in D2. You play a Holmen. What do you think of the bracket overall? I mean, you already knew that what your opponents were going to be, because I think that was all discussed and divisions were already set. But as far as seeding goes and whatnot, I know you probably had a conversation with coaches and had to put up the bracket. What'd you think after it was all released?
We were honestly a little disappointed. River Falls is a very good team. They deserve their 1 seed. I think everybody voted for them as the 1 seed. That's fair. I thought we had a really good argument against New Richmond. We went and played in New Richmond, got a tie, which isn't easy to do. And we thought our resume was comparable to theirs, especially with, no losses. The reality of the situation is we're going to have to beat good teams. So
Right.
Holmen's a good team. We'll get them at home. We'll have to beat them. The only difference would have been, possibly playing New Richmond at home instead of driving up there. But, you're going to play good teams come the playoffs, and we could maybe use that, whether it's real or perceived slight, a little bit to our advantage.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. And that's where I was going to go too, because that 2-3 can always flip flop. It seems the same way when you're talking about the NCAA basketball championship, March Madness tournament. Everybody fights for that 2-3. And it's more important now because, as you said, the home field advantage that you could have had in that second round, but it's not going to be easy because you start with Holmen. What have you guys been prepping on and getting ready for seeing them again? Because you've already played them a couple of times.
Yeah, so without getting too much away, obviously, it's just, by this point, it's little tactical changes, little variations in what we want to do. We have a good idea, we think, of how they want to play the game. We've seen them for 160 minutes. They've seen us the same amount, right? So it's going to be a matter of, honestly, it's just going to be a matter of the kids getting out on the field and doing what they're capable of doing. Because we've done it before. So belief should be there for the kids. And so just a matter of going out and performing.
It should be a great matchup. It's coming up again. They play Holmen then on Tuesday night. That's at Logan High School for the first round of regionals. Win there, they would play Saturday, October 22nd versus, as you mentioned, New Richmond or Sparta, because that's who plays. Is it 4 wins to state, Coach? Is that what I saw in the bracket? 4 wins you get there?
4 wins to state, regional final, sectional final. So last year we got to a sectional semi, lost in overtime to River Falls. Very close, hotly contested game. They scored with about 5 minutes left and then scored a second one when we were throwing everybody forward. So,
and that was a state qualifier last year, correct?
Yep.
Right?
They made the state. Yep. So yeah, it's a deep region. A team like Holmen, who's got a winning record, 9-7-2, getting a 6 seed. We were in that position a couple years ago. I think we had 4 losses and we were a 6 seed. So it's a very deep region. And so it's not easy to get out of. The other half of our section is not quite as deep. So you like to think if you can get through these 3 games, you've got a good chance in that 4th one to get to state.
Yeah, it looked like Whitefish. I think Bay was the number 1 seed on the other side, correct? Oh no,
not at our region.
Side. That's right, not your region.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean they're a perennial powerhouse. Yeah. Hopefully we get to play them.
Well, and then the last thing I want to talk about was your senior group. I don't think you and I are probably going to get a chance to talk and recap the season. My focus has to turn towards my other job that I have for a couple weeks here. So I won't get the chance to kind of recap the entire season, but I definitely wanted to talk about your senior group. What a special group you've had, on these last couple of years for a great run, especially than this year. So you get a chance now to kind of talk about what they've left for the program.
Sure. I mean, it'll be a little maybe sneak preview of how I talk about them at our senior bank or our end of year banquet. So probably the group that's won the most games coming through Central. We had 3 of them play as freshmen. Owen Lyons, Cody Beitlick, and Landon Larson played as freshmen and played in big moments and big minutes. And then the rest of them have really come along. Guys that don't get a lot of credit. But they do good jobs for our team, whether it's starting like Mason Roth at outside back, Paul Flottmeyer at outside back, or somebody like Adam Schultes, who he's maybe getting 7-8 minutes a half, but he works his butt off those 7-8 minutes and gives us exactly what we need to give guys rest, creates havoc for teams, puts teams defenders on notice that when we sub guys out, they don't get a break. And then, we had one that tore his ACL during tryouts this year. He was a first team all conference defender last year. So Connor McCoy would have been a huge part of what we did this year. Now he's the best cheerleader we've ever had. So, yeah, I'm sure I'm missing 1 or 2. So I apologize to them in advance, but I'm sure I'll hear it tomorrow at training.
I did not send you a list of questions either. So I am kind of putting you on the spot, Coach. So I understand that. But yeah, great group. I'm really happy for your success. Wish you the best of luck coming up against Holmen. Again, they play Central Riverhawks boys soccer will play on Tuesday night, 7 p.m. As the 3 seed over at the Logan High School. Coach Lyons, thank you so much. Best of luck to you and the boys coming up. And thanks again for the 2 interviews for the season. Really do appreciate it.
I appreciate it too. Could I just throw in a quick reminder? Please come out to the game, bring a little cash because it does cost money to get in now that it's the playoffs. So don't forget that. We look forward to seeing a bunch of students, a bunch of parents, some staff at the game and try to put on a show for everybody.
I'm probably not streamed either. So you definitely need to get there because it's a regional game. So it's not going to be streamed. And again, that's kind of where we are too. We're not streaming any more games for the fall season either. But again, Coach Lyons, thanks again.
Yeah, thank you very much. Have a great night.
Yep, you do the same. We'll have more interviews throughout the week, planning on Coach Olson for tomorrow. That's the plan anyway. Hopefully he and I can lock it up and get that up on Monday evening. For Coach Lyons, I'm Joel McCall. Thank you so much for tuning in here on the Central Riverhawks YouTube channel.